call halal, Yahweh, Bahashim, Yahweh Shai, Bahashim Kwadash, double honors to the elder apostles of GMS and elder bishops of GMS, including the elders that came before them that taught us this truth. Shalom and salutations to all the brothers out pushing the word, the truth, and its sincerity, the hopeful elect tabernacle of David, the Akwat that are listening and learning, being a pillar of rest, the 144,001 third, the hopeful elect of Israel, on the brother Yahshua. I'm going to start right here, John 8 and 44, and we're going to read it in the NLT. For you Edomites, are the children of your father the devil, and you love to do the evil things he does. He was a murderer from the beginning. He has always hated the truth because there is no truth in him. When he lies, it is consistent with his character. For he is a liar and the father of lies. Okay, and we can start at the top with Amalek. Remember what Amalek did to you, right? So I'm gonna try to keep this quick. I saw the elder Malcolm from Chicago. He put up a Camurio video. This is Camurio Ahau, I guess is how you say his name, who does awesome work, by the way. And you can tell by some of the comments, right? Yahuda or Yahawada is a lion's whelp. So they're speaking well, brother Camurio. Solid info again, Thawada Camurio. So you see, Jacob is big up in him, which there's nothing wrong with that. They got some things, they're a little edgy, need to smooth out some edges, but nonetheless, if you're of the elect, you're going to be raised. So what's going on here is the lies and the murder, the justification of the murder through lies. Let's read that again real quick. The justification of murder, right? Let's read it in the King James. I didn't bring these words out. Okay? When he speaketh what? Lie. When he speaketh a lie, I didn't bring out lies and murder. You're using deception and lies to justify murder. This is what the devil is about. Okay? You are of your father the devil, and the lust of your father ye will do. Talking about Cain, okay, who is the reincarnation of Esau. So when we speak of Amalek, right, and you go here, you belong to your father the devil, and you want to carry out your father's desires. What did Esau want to do? Then will I slay my brother Jacob, paraphrase. Genesis 27 and 41, if I'm not mistaken. But what are the desires of your father? The time of mourning for my father is at hand. Then will I slay my brother Jacob. Remember that? That's your father Esau. I'm talking to Amalek. Your father's desire was to murder your brother like you did when you were Cain. Get it? Don't mention the Khazars, right? In ancient Russia, right? They had the Tsar. Remember Tsar Nicholas? Well, when you say Ka, what do you say after you say Ka? You say Tsars or Caesar. Khazar, Caesar. Caesar is the president or the prime minister of Rome or whatever you want to call him, the king of Rome. They didn't say king. They said Caesar, right? And then you get the Khazars. Then you get the Tsars, Tsar Nicholas, the Tsars of Russia, right? Connect the dots. Okay, so we're going to go in, and immediately they're going to talk about what did and what did not happen at the concert, right? And we got a little, but we're going to follow up with the concert, right? Which is crazy. The the Traveling Holocaust Museum. Here we go. Let's play this.
So to say that your mass media, the Western mass media, always beside the Israelis, your baby in this area. And you are forgetting completely
We start that again.
the Israelis, your baby.
Your baby.
With its position, but
Salaki, here we go.
where there really isn't one. It's been breathtaking how American journalists have allowed themselves to be manipulated in this way.
A New York delegation toured suicide bombing sites in Israel today. Mayor Rudolph Giuliani said the people of Jerusalem and New York City stand shoulder to shoulder against terrorism.
So to say that your mass media, the Western mass media, always beside the Israelis, your baby in this area. And you are forgetting completely this organized terrorism. Even in the United Nations Security Council, you refuse to condemn this barbarian attack on the South. But you bless it. And you said that we accept the raid, but it was a little bit more than required. I have to ask those who used to speak about human rights. Where is this human rights there in the South?
The Hannibal Directive was something that was developed in the 1980s by the Israelis, and it was basically to avoid situations where their enemies would capture 1 or 2 or 3 Israeli soldiers and then effectively hold them to ransom. There was one occasion where the Israelis released over 1,000 Palestinian prisoners in return for a single Israeli soldier. So an order was issued whereby they said, it's better that we kill everyone than allow people to be captured. Now, this was supposedly rescinded several years ago, but at midday on October the 7th, the army revived the Hannibal Directive, put it into effect. 70 vehicles were hit. At least in some of the cases, everyone in the vehicle was killed.
Now, what they're saying is it's the Israelis that are killing their own people. Or when they set out to do a mission, they kill everybody so that no hostages can be negotiated or whatever. So they just kill their own people, collateral damage as well. So.
The military does not deny the report.
The peculiarity of the days after October 7 is that the Israeli media and subsequently the international media choose to focus not on the very real and extensive crimes that Hamas and others did.
Not the real things that went on, but the shit that they made up and lied about. We got to make some grandiose lies, right? That harken back to World War II and the shit that's being thrust on us, right? Oh, you can't say that. You can't say that. I'll put you in jail. I can do whatever I want. I can conduct a genocide, but you can't say that about me. I'll put you in prison.
On crimes they did not commit. And this had 2 focuses. In the days immediately after, it's to do with babies. So the most dramatic one is we see an allegation that there were 40 babies killed, many of them beheaded. This is very simple to deal with because we have a comprehensive list of the dead. We know that 2 babies are killed on October the 7th. One is a 10-month-old child who is hit by a bullet fired through a safe room door. The other is a child who dies after an emergency cesarean, a Bedouin child.
A Bedouin child.
Now, any story about babies that does not relate to those 2, and there are a lot of stories about babies, is not true. We know it's not true. This has enormous...
Wait a minute. Let's go back and look at that again. This same lie, right? Remember this lie from World War II?
About babies is not true. We know it.
See this word right here? When you roast, oh, there's the word right there. I didn't want to say this word. Roasted in what? Roasted babies in what? They use this word. That's the same playbook you used in World War II. Right? And what you said that Schicklgruber did. You see this? This is the same playbook. This is all they got. You tell this lie, right? This is an outright lie. And he just said it. We have proof of who was there. We have the records. Right? So show your proof. Okay? And we'll show our proof. And we'll find out who's telling the truth. All Edomites anyway.
Not true. This has enormous implications for the other wave of atrocity stories that began very quickly, which is to do with sexual violence, and particularly the Israeli assertion that it was widespread and systematic. To be clear, in the film, we are not saying that there were no rapes on October the 7th. We simply don't know. What we are saying is that there simply is not the evidence. There's not the forensic evidence, there's not the visual evidence, there's not the photographic evidence, and there is not the witness evidence to support the allegation of widespread and systematic rape. He's read.
Okay, let's stop right here because this needs to be said. And you got to understand this, see? Anybody listening to this presentation, mine right now, this video, well, you just love it. All of this lying, 40 babies beheaded, is to lay the groundwork for what? For the genocide that we're watching. Okay? The genocide that we're watching in Gaza, right? And in Rafah, whatever down there, right? That is about to take place, right? They had to create a reason to be able to do what they're doing right now. This is them creating a reason. How you create it? You lie about it. Oh, 40 babies were beheaded. No, they weren't. We have the record that to prove that you're lying so that you can be justified. There is no justification for genocide to begin with. But these 40 babies that were beheaded and decapitated and grape and all of this, you made that up to justify something that can't be justified. You see how stupid you look? You think, so you've gotten away with lies and buffaloing, stampeding motherfuckers for years, and now you think you could just say anything and we gotta accept it. You're there, you're at that point. Crazy.
This strange system where they farm out the collection of bodies after disasters and...
Watch this, and I'm talking about top down. I'm talking about Netanyahu, I'm talking about all your minions, all your politicians, all you motherfuckers. As far as lying goes, well, we just read the scripture. You're the father. You are the father of lies. Starting with Amalek on the top. Watch. This is just what they do as a matter of course. Okay? Lying and gaslighting and do it. This is what they study from day one at the pad.
terrorist attacks and so on, to an organization called Zaka,
Watch this.
who are ultra-Orthodox religious volunteers. They collect the bodies, prepare them for religious burial and so on. A character that many people will have seen in the days afterwards is Yossi Landau, who was the southern commander of Zaka, who was on television a great deal.
Now he's an authority, okay? Somebody has given him the position of authority, and what he says, right, means everything, right? Oh, he's putting the bodies down, and he's this is serious work. So he has a voice to be respected, and what is he going to do with it? Let's watch.
So
The two piles of 10 children each were tied to the back, burned to death.
you then see a phone call which Netanyahu makes to President Biden, where he repeats this story. In fact, he embellishes it.
They took dozens of children, bound them up, burned them, and executed them.
Terribly important, this, because it was entirely untrue. We know the house he's talking about. He's talking about the house in Kibbutz Be'eri, which was the house that was stormed by Israeli police and military, and where it is almost certain that all of the hostages were killed by the Israeli police and military. There were...
Oops. What was that? If any babies were killed, all these people that were killed by who? But what do you do with that? You lie. You deceive. You use it. You go kill your own people which is written into what was it? The what option? We went over it back here, where they go in and they kill every Samson option. Not one of the who was slinging. We'll come back to it. Hold
story.
on.
In fact, he embellishes it.
They took dozens of children, bound them up, burned them, and executed them.
Terribly important, this, because it was entirely untrue. We know the house he's talking about. He's talking about the house in Kibbutz Be'eri, which was the house that was stormed by Israeli police and military, and where it is almost certain that all of the hostages were killed by the Israeli police and military. There were 2 children there, 2 twins, but no other children, so we know the story is untrue. Mr. Landau told a number of other stories. There's one particularly notorious one about the fetus.
See him crying? That's acting. You're lying and act. That's total deception. And you're doing it at the podium, and they're pushing this across the airwaves everywhere. Okay? So it's a concerted effort of liars from top down.
Entirely untrue. We know the house he's talking about. He's talking about the house in Kibbutz Be'eri, which was the house that was stormed by Israeli police and military, and where it is almost certain that all of the hostages were killed by the Israeli police and military. There were 2 children there, 2 twins, but no other children, so we know the story is untrue. Mr. Landau told a number of other stories. There's one particularly notorious one about the fetus being cut out of a pregnant woman.
The baby that was connected to the cord was stabbed, and she was shot in the back.
We simply know this is untrue. The list
6 million. Remember that one? 6 million. Don't say nothing. You can't say anything. This right here. 6 million. You can't say nothing. Don't say nothing. Don't question anything. Don't deny.
the dead show there's no such victim. Mr. Landau said, I have a picture of this atrocity.
If you want to see the picture, I have the picture of it. This is the baby.
I'm sorry to be graphic here, but I can't see a baby here.
You can't see the baby but this is the picture of the mother.
It was a piece of...
They can't help it. Can't help. He get caught in a lie. There's no baby. This is the mother. You can't see it because this is... Come on. Come on. It's just bad. It's just bad.
Flesh. It wasn't a baby. It certainly wasn't a baby. So it was interesting. And psychologically, I'm not quite sure why he offered to show me a photo that he didn't have.
He can't help it. Okay? They are trained, right? This is how they get what they want. And I'm sorry, it's just what it is. It's just what it is. If there are laws on the books saying that you're an H denier or that you're an anti Noah's son Shem, right? What is that? Where did that come from? All right? It came from that same deception that we're watching right now. And then you put the laws behind it so the truth will never come out. But guess what? We're in the day that Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai is bringing out the whole truth, and you can't hide no more.
I'd point out as well that Zaka was an organization that was in trouble. There had been a major scandal.
Here it comes. What do you think the major scandal is? What? Can you say Moyle?
Honda had been accused of child sexual abuse. There was a financial scandal. It had been found to be cooking the books. It's raised an awful lot of money since October the 7th. These stories were clearly useful, and they were useful to the Israeli government. In the film, we see Benjamin Netanyahu visiting Zaka volunteers and thanking them for talking to the world's media and stressing that this is another front in the war.
You have an important role in lying or deceiving public opinion. See this? Which also influences leaders. You're deceiving. Your lies, you're doing good work here. Your lies and deception, right? Like our great-great-great-great-grandpappy Esau, Cain, is enabling us to continue to turn things upside down. PR, public relations, defining who's newsworthy.
In nearly 3 years since the outbreak of the Intifada, over 500 Israeli civilians have been killed, most inside Israel by Palestinian suicide bombers. On the Palestinian side, over 2,000 civilians have been killed, most in the occupied territories by Israeli soldiers. Yet, while many innocent people have died on both sides, not all are considered newsworthy in the American media.
There have been periods where almost no Israelis have been killed and large numbers of Palestinians have been killed. Those periods have been referred to routinely by the American press as periods of relative calm. What that means is it's relatively calm if only Arabs are dying.
What it means is that you're experts in deceiving people. That's what it means. This is pure deception at its highest level, using the mainstream legacy media to carry it out. Okay, witchcraft at its highest level, lying, deception, that's your job. And murder. And now it's all coming out.
In August 2002, news outlets were reporting a period of relative quiet.
Relative quiet is held in the West Bank town of Bethlehem.
Relative quiet means 40 Palestinians were murdered to death, and now we're lying about it.
Reports failed to mention was that during the same time period, 39 Palestinian civilians were killed. 24 of them were women and children.
Palestinians claim that in Jenin, hundreds of bodies are buried under the rubble in the center of the town. The Israeli army says that the death toll there is only a matter of a few dozen.
In the American media, on television, of course, but even in sophisticated media like the New York Times, Israelis, whether they're Israeli citizens or settlers or soldiers, are presented in a very humane, human way, a way in which Americans can identify with them.
23 Israeli soldiers were killed in the fighting. One of them was Mark and Rena Robinson's 21-year-old son, Matanya. His name means God's gift.
There's a saying in Hebrew, God gives and God takes. And he took him.
Skip it up.
Are justified in American coverage becomes even more glaring. A really clear example of this is the BBC story on 6 Palestinian kids killed by an Israeli booby trap and one the next day by Israeli soldiers.
5 small bodies on their way to the grave, carried shoulder high, a martyr's funeral in Gaza for the dead schoolboys. Sources in the Israeli government and security services have admitted they were probably the victims of an Israeli booby trap. Victims who died side by side, 2 sets of brothers and a cousin, all members of one devastated Palestinian family, the Al-Astals. Naim lost his oldest son and his youngest, who was only 6. Both good boys, he told me, who never gave any trouble. This Israeli minister wants a full inquiry, but claims it wasn't a civilian area.
Civilians are not there. That's exactly what
Minister, I stood there yesterday. This is an area where children pass to go to school. This is an area where people cultivate. I have stood there and I have seen it. Now, is it appropriate that a roadside bomb should be planted in this place?
That's exactly what should be investigated. That's exactly what should be investigated.
Even as he spoke, Palestinians say another child was killed in Gaza. They claim Israeli forces fired on these stone throwers, killing a 15-year-old called Wael. The army denies it.
If you looked at the American coverage from the same day, you'd struggle to think of it as even the same event. The report practically blames the victims for their own deaths.
In Gaza, a Palestinian teenager was killed in a clash with Israeli troops following the funerals of 5 boys. They died Thursday when one of them kicked an unexploded tank shell.
There's antiseptic language, there's cleaned up language that does not show the human reality of the substance and does not really show the inherent injustice in the situation.
Why does this matter? Why does it matter whether this type of atrocity was committed but not that type? People were killed in this way, not that way. It matters because the murder of babies and widespread rape has a particular resonance. It's particularly triggering. The Israeli government and its supporters, when they justify the brutality of the subsequent bombardment and invasion.
No, subsequent genocide. Come on now. You're being deceptive too. Come out and say it and stop being afraid. I understand we got to speak in code and all of that, but goddamn, the truth is the truth and it's going to come out. And there's going to be a fight, right?
It's a strip. Again and again and again, what they always reference is babies and rape.
Young girls who were raped and then murdered.
Women brutally raped and murdered.
Little kids who were beheaded.
Pictures of terrorists beheading children.
These bastards put these babies in an oven and put on their oven. We found the kid a few hours later.
This is something you see in previous conflicts as well.
You found the kid what? Burned? Charred? You found the kid? Come on. A little more.
If you want to dehumanize an enemy, if you want to desensitize people to the suffering that is inflicted on that enemy, then you portray them as barbarians, basically as savages, as people who are not deserving of humane treatment. And that's why it's relevant. That's why it's important to pick apart. A lot of the world's leading media outlets have done in-depth investigations where they have concluded there was widespread, systematic, instrumentalized, weaponized rape. The New York Times makes a particular feature of the story of a young woman. She was killed early in the morning at 9 miles north.
Now listen, this is the New York. These are these devils at the highest level of legacy media, right? Telling outright lies to inflame people to justify murder and genocide. Come on now.
The music festival site as she and her husband were fleeing. The New York Times in its...
Now remember this now, okay? The what festival? The music festival?
Times makes a particular feature of the story of a young woman. She was killed early in the morning at 9 miles north of the music festival site as she and her husband were fleeing. The New York Times, in its big December investigation into sexual violence, leads with this, and about a third of the article consists of her story. And it's immediately undermined because the woman's sister then posts on Instagram immediately afterwards, this isn't true, we know she wasn't raped. She was texting us until minutes before her death. It's also the case that her husband had a lengthy phone conversation immediately after her death with his brother, and again made no mention of rape. So very important that, because it's the central, most compelling piece of information in one of the biggest investigations done by one of the world's most prestigious media outlets, the New York Times, and it turns out not to be true.
Oops. And what does this do? It makes it okay. All we got to do is go back to, where's this shithead at? Piers Morgan. Where's Piers? Just the way he talks. Did we pass it? Where's fucking Piers at? I'm going to move on to this concert situation because that's happened. Oh, here's Piers. Listen to the way Piers Morgan talks to this guy. Right? Listen.
15,000 Palestinian children have been killed, and you would expect the outrage and the coverage to be proportionately greater, and it's not. In future, people will look back at what is being done, which is essentially the flattening of a whole series of towns and the mass murder of thousands and thousands of unarmed civilians.
The mass what? And lying about it? This is right out of the scripture. The mass murder. Listen.
People will look back at what is being done, which is essentially the flattening of a whole series of towns and the mass murder of thousands and thousands of unarmed civilians, almost half of whom are children. And they will be absolutely bewildered by how the West allowed this to happen.
They allowed it to happen because of deception, the lies that were told, the justification, okay? You make up some elaborate bullshit and get people crying, get women crying, right? Oh, babies, what they did to babies, and they were raping and da-da-da-da. What? Oh, we got to go kill. We got to go flatten and raise the whole town and commit genocide now. It's justified.
Under its very noses, with weapons that were being supplied by the West, there is a rupture in the relationship of large numbers of people with the political media class. There is a fundamental alienation that is going on right now as a result of what is happening in the Gaza Strip. I think that's very dangerous for the future.
That's it. All right. Let's watch this. This is today, an hour ago. New York, in a new exhibit in New York recreates October 7th at the music festival. What? Huh? The Traveling Holocaust Museum is already out, which started in the Holy Land. Now they done moved it. Now it's on tour. Came across the pond, right? Now you're sending it out on tour. And if you deny that this happened, we're going to throw you in prison.
A new exhibition is now open in downtown Manhattan that recreates the Nova Music Festival in Israel on October 7th and the moments before, during, and after the Hamas attack. Over 360 concert goers were killed that day and dozens were taken hostage. Joining us now.
But who killed them? Right? Who killed them? Was it friendly fire?
ABC News entertainment correspondent Chloe Melas. Chloe, tell us about this really emotional exhibit.
Good morning, Mika. The Nova exhibit opened yesterday, and this sprawling 50,000 square foot space in downtown Manhattan is being spearheaded by music executive Scooter Braun, who...
Do you see the level of deception? What it takes to put on, to get this okayed wherever it goes, to the money that went into it, the production, the red tape, the bureaucratic shit that all of this, has to go through in order to be presented, right? To be able to do that or to not be able to do that. What are we watching here? What is this propaganda piece, right? Because whatever they want to say happened, that's what they're pushing, whether it's true or not. Now, we just watched a video of lies after lies and deception upon deception. What is this? What's this bullshit? This is a reason or justification for genocide, is what it is. It's a high-tech piece of propaganda that justifies genocide.
Inspired to bring it from Tel Aviv here to New York. Now, Braun and some of the survivors who I spoke with say that this installation is not about religion or politics, but a moment to raise awareness about the attack at the music festival, to remember the lives lost and hostages that were taken. A warning, some images and details may be disturbing.
Everywhere you turn your head to, you see the smiles, you see happy people.
Reflections of smiling faces, dancing, people living their best lives.
I was really, really excited for it. It was amazing.
The Moment Music Stood Still is an exhibit that recreates those moments in vivid detail.
Let's analyze this. The Moment Music Stood Still. There's two famous movies in here. The Day the Music Died. Remember that? Bye Bye Miss America Pie. I heard he sang a good song. I heard he had a style. And so I came to see him and listen for a while. That was written about whatever dude's name. I forget what his name was. Don McLean. So Don McLean wrote a song called American Pie, The Day the Music Died. This says, the moment music stood still. Big Bopper, Richie Valens, and Buddy Holly died in a plane accident. And they made this big to-do about it. There's really some skullduggery, but they died and they tried to make them rock and roll heroes when Chuck Berry and Little Richard invented rock and roll. That was their attempt at least they had Ishikar in there. Richie Valenzuela. Right? We're going to change your name. So anyway, the day the music died and the day, what is it? The day the world stood still? The day the world stood still. Is that what it is? Salaki, real quick. The day the world. The earth. Is it the earth? The day the earth Earth Stood. 51. Big movie. Okay? The Day the Earth Stood Still, they redid it. They got the old one, right? But I'm just drawing a comparison to whatever the hell this is. The Day the Earth Stood Still, right? The Day the Music Died. What the hell are they doing? They're triggering, right? Because these phrases they're embedded in your head, whether you know it or not. So this is high level witchcraft, right? To get you, just like well, that's anti Noah's son Shem, right? That is high level witchcraft, man. Okay? So anyway, look at this. This is crazy. This music festival, what is it? Exhibit. All right, so let's read a couple of these comments. Let's just see what people are saying. 186 comments an hour ago. IDF allowed it to happen to start a war with Gaza. I agree. Did they recreate the Israeli chopper gunner that was shooting at civilians while trying to assist? See, people know. The word is out, right? What is this music in MSNBC? What is this? Music festival recreation of an exhibit, Salakia. I find it disgusting how many people believe that one crime against humanity could ever justify another crime against humanity. We are fighting human animals. Gallant. Definition of apartheid. Apart-hate. Apart-hate. That's how they say it in South Africa. Apart-hate. A policy of racial segregation. Example, formerly practiced in South Africa, Rhodesia, America, and now Israel. What do you mean formerly practiced? What the fuck does that mean? No, it's still jumping off right now. Let's see what somebody said. So, and live in Israel. How many Israelis live in Gaza, not counting the hostage? What? What are you talking about? See, it's about to go down. Anyway, let's watch this. Let's read this. So where's the exhibit for the tens of thousands of Palestinians, civilians who were wiped out by the Israeli military? Where is that exhibit? See? You can have an exhibit for what happened at the concert, but let's get the genocide exhibit popping. Right? Let's get the Palestinian genocide exhibit popping. Right? And then we can exaggerate and we can deceive people with grandiose lies. Let's do that. Right? Whatever you say is facts, contrary, in lieu of the fact that we have information that proves otherwise. Wow. Mow the grass is a metaphor used to describe the strategy of Israel against Palestinian people in the Gaza Strip. It's crazy. So stupid and unnecessary, the exhibit. Netanyahu and his pariah state, this is sick considering the following genocide. There you go. There you go. How you going to put that little, 300 people died at the concert? Okay. Let's parse numbers. You cannot have humane Zionism. It's a contradiction in terms. Odd they would recreate it almost as if to celebrate it. There's a museum, right, that cost a lot of money to get in. Let's see. This isn't bait? No, not at all. You could come on here and say something. Will there be an exhibit on the Gaza genocide? Look at this. You talking about a fictional situation. What? The Gaza genocide is nonfiction? Nope. She's not talking about Don Don's re-election. Oh, shit. You wish to go see firsthand? Make sure you wear your rainbow colors. This is crazy. Look at this. Does it show ID? See, what about this? See? Let me go back. Oh, did I jack it up?
All out for the hostages, and still, at the same time.
So they know. Okay. A lot of people, right? The truth is coming out, is what's going on. Does it show the IDF shooting them from helicopters? While it is terrible that terrorists target civilians, one point I'll never hear mentioned is why were they holding a music festival right next to a prison city that regularly launched rockets? Anyway, yeah, so you can see what's going on here. Let's go back. Let's revisit John, okay? You belong to your father, the devil. John 8:44. You belong to your father, the devil. Talking about Esau. And you want to carry out your father's desires. What are they doing over there? He was a murderer from the beginning, not holding to the truth, for there is no truth in him. When he lies, he speaks his native language, forked tongue. For he is a liar and the father of lies. We just watched that, right? We just watched it easily, right? Let's get this devil real quick. And then I'm going to go ahead and close. I didn't mean to make it that long, so I'll forgive me. 12. Sirach 12:10, we're just going to read it. Never trust thine enemy, for like as iron rusteth, so is his wickedness. Though he humble himself and go crouching, yet take good heed and be aware of him. And thou shalt be unto him as if thou hast wiped a looking glass, and thou shalt know that his rust hath not been altogether wiped away. Set him not by thee, lest, when he hath overthrown thee, he stand up in thy place. Neither let him sit at thy right hand, lest he seek to take thy seat. Neither let him set up living arrangements in the middle of Jerusalem, because he's going to take the whole country, right? Neither let him sit at thy right hand, lest he seek to take thy seat. And thou at the last remember my words and be pricked therewith. The Palestinians are pricked therewith. Who will pity a charmer that is bitten with a serpent, or any such as come nigh wild beasts? All right. Jump down to 16. An enemy speaketh sweetly with his lips, but in his heart he imagineth how to throw thee into a pit. He will weep with his eyes, but if he find opportunity, he will not be satisfied with blood. He will weep with his eyes, right? Where'd that thing go? This fucking devil. Where'd this devil go? Oh, it was it here? I'm talking about the continual employment. Come here, continual employment. Watch this. Weep with his eyes. This dude is sitting there telling a damn lie, right? Knowing he's lying, embellishing, grandiosing. This is the point I'm getting to right here. though he weep. Look at this fool. Did I miss it? That's what I wanted. This character right here. His role, boy. And see, this is how they get out. They just get to lying and saying shit they know ain't true just to take you down. Where's this dude crying at? Lying and crying. Is that it? Or they come back to him? Let's see. Where's this guy? Salaki, I'm just diddling around right now. This is stupid. It's not letting me find this guy. It's crazy. 39.
We know that 2 babies are killed on October the 7th. One is a 10-month-old child who is hit by a bullet fired through a safe room door. The other is a child who dies after an emergency cesarean, a Bedouin child, in fact. Now, any
back, burned to death.
You then see a phone call which Netanyahu makes to President Biden, where he repeats this story. In fact,
Each were tied.
many people will have seen in the days afterwards is Yossi Landau, who was the southern commander of Zaka, who was on television a great deal. He said,
The piles of 10 children each were tied to the back, burned to death.
You then see a phone call which Netanyahu makes to President Biden, where he repeats this story. In fact, he embellishes it.
They took dozens of children, bound them up, burned them, and executed them.
Terribly important, this, because it was entirely untrue. We know the house he's talking about. He's talking about the house in Kibbutz Be'eri, which was the house that was stormed by Israeli police and military, and where it is almost certain that all of the hostages were killed by the Israeli police and military. There were 2 children there, 2 twins, but no other children, so we know the story is untrue. Mr. Landau told a number of other stories. There's one particularly notorious who was on television a great deal. He said, a character that many
Just not letting me get that. 1726. This is really weird. See this picture right there? I can't get to it. 1727.
a character that many people would have
See, look at this bullshit.
in the days afterwards is Yossi Landau, who was the southern
Where's he crying
commander
at?
of Zaka, who was on
Where's the
television
crying
a great
picture?
deal. He said,
The piles of 10 children each were tied to the back.
I can't find this picture right here. It's easy to find right here. See him crying? So it's not letting me pull that up. So anyway, It won't. So anyway, he's crying. Now let's go back here. And I'll close. Sirach 12 and 16. An enemy speaketh sweetly with his lips, but in his heart he imagineth how to throw thee into a pit. He will weep with his eyes. But if he find opportunity, he will not be satisfied with blood. This dude is not playing. Where's he at? Look at him weeping with his eyes. 17:27. Look at him. We're not going to let him get it. We're not going to let him catch us lying and crying. Anyway, with that, we hope that the elect will edify you, brothers and few sisters. It's going to get brutal. Get ready to get lied on. False witnesses coming from all sides, all right? Shalom.